I would like to formally introduce Dr. Junlei Lee from Harvard University. Dr. Junlei Lee serves as the co-chair of the Human Development and Education Program and the Saul Zeitz Senior Lecturer in Early Childhood Education at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. His research and practice focus on understanding and supporting work of helpers, those who serve children and families on the front lines of education and social services. Dr. Lee, thank you so much for being here with us today, and I pass it on to you. As a friendly reminder, if you do have any questions for Dr. Lee, please feel free to put it into the Q&A box, and we'll make sure to provide a couple of minutes after his presentation to read out questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene, and good morning, everyone. It's just such an honor and a pleasure to join you during your celebration at the summit. And I have about half an hour with all of you, and I would hope that this half an hour can be just kind of a relaxing, sit back, take a deep breath, and just look back at all that you have tried to do and all that you have accomplished over the last year. And I wanted to start by just sharing with you one of these very ordinary scenes that happens in communities that meant so much for children and for families, despite kind of how routine and ordinary it is. A number of years ago, our team worked on the street corners in the city of Pittsburgh. And we went there because families and children in the communities have identified the crossing guard to be someone really important in their community. And we wanted to see what makes the crossing guards so important. So anyhow, if you just take a deep breath, sit back, let me take you to the street corners in Pittsburgh, and just to follow an ordinary morning on the street corner where the crossing guard, Miss Paula, is. And I'm gonna go straight to the video here. There we go.
Good morning. I like you here. Go ahead. Where's your jacket at?
I'm not cold.
You ain't cold? Okay. Where's your, I know, see, you got a jacket, huh? He said, I am. Good morning. She's grown up to be so beautiful. Look at her. Wow. I know. Wow. She looks just like you. That's your twin right there. Oh my. Good morning. Y'all go to the high school?
Yes.
All right. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
You're welcome, baby. And your lips is shivering.
All we care is about your face.
That's it, me too. That's the worst time when my face is cold. Yeah, I feel like, oh, mama, shh. I wish I could just warm you up. But if it's just like my hair, I'm good. Okay.
My face is cold.
Well, hurry up in then. It's time to go in, okay? Good morning.
Right.
Good morning. So, when are you going to know about the election? When you going to know if you won or not?
Okay.
Oh, huh. I got my fingers crossed for you. Even though I didn't get a cupcake, but I got my fingers crossed. Good morning, guys. Oh, your nails. Let me see your nails. All right, now. Let me see y'all of yours. All right, now. Go now. It's your bad self. You cold?
I'm a fall baby.
You a fall baby?
Yeah, my birthday's November.
See, I hold traffic for you. Good morning, baby girl. I like your little bun. Your mom did your hair? Tell her I give her 100%.
I wanted to share that video because not just that morning or Miss Paula herself, but when we spend time at these street corners and observing all the crossing guards, it taught us something that we never learned in research and textbooks. It's this idea of how you might build relationships with people with just 5 seconds, 10 seconds a day, the amount of time that it takes to cross a street corner, not just with children, but with families as well. And when we met with the crossing guards, they'll refer to themselves as the early morning street parent. that was the job title they gave to themselves in that context. And I just wanted to take a minute, all of us, just take a minute. I would like you to just think about this question, kind of why does Miss Paula, or people like Miss Paula, matter? To children, to families, to their neighborhoods. I actually have this little sand timer that's exactly a minute. It's from my kids' games. So I'm just going to watch the timer here, and we can all relax and just think about that. So that was exactly a minute. Thank you. And we'll do this a couple of times if we could. I noticed that some of you have already shared a thought in the chat. I know I don't have the time, all of you don't have the time to read through everything in the chat, but I understand that the file could be saved so that we can look at it later. And so feel free to share a thought or just keep the thought to yourself. I had, when I worked in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is the home of the television program Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And for a number of years, I felt like I was a student of Mr. Rogers' work. And one of the things that he often conveyed to children and to grown-ups alike is this message he called more than one thing. And he would say that, what's been important in my understanding of myself and others is the fact that each one of us is so much more than any one thing. Right? A sick child is much more than her sickness, and a person with a disability is much, much more than just a handicap. A pediatrician is more than a medical doctor, and you are much more than your job description or your age or your income or your output. And Miss Paula, as a crossing guard, right? Their job description is relatively simple. It's to make sure there's no traffic accidents at a corner, and their equipment is simple: a shirt and a stop sign. But as you can see, what she actually does, right? In addition to keeping children safe, what she actually does for children, for families, is so much more than what her job description would have conveyed. And as my colleagues and I take our time to visit with, to observe, to record, to talk to helpers from all around the world, in places big and small, in the countryside, small villages, all the way to big cities, what we find is that seemed to be universally true across cultures and languages, that people in communities who are helpers to children, helpers to families, always bring so much more about who they are and what they can do into their work, whether their work is professional or volunteer. And that's how they serve their communities. And so I wanted to just have an opportunity to think along with all of you, kind of what has that meant, particularly over the last year, or longer than the last year. So when COVID came, right, schools and community programs and libraries, and all the places that we are used to having around are closed. And of course, all of us professionally and personally have struggled in thinking about kind of how has that changed the way we live, the way we work, the way we connect with each other. What still remains the same? One of the things that clearly changed is the way we are with each other. One of the themes that I keep seeing during this COVID time is somehow we have to connect with each other through windows. Early on, there was these so many stories, right, of families trying to reach out to each other in nursing homes and in this case, even at home, trying to find a sense of connection. And of course, we have the virtual Zoom windows, which all of us are still on today. And when we are doing all that work, particularly when it comes to the work with families, I understand you, as well as many other family engagement professionals all across the country, have to have open new windows through which you can connect with the families. So my close partner and colleague, Dr. Dana Winters at the Fred Rogers Center in Pittsburgh, they had followed family engagement and early intervention specialists throughout the pandemic as they changed the way they support families in this virtual environment. The kind of things that you used to in person, these professionals are finding ways to do that online, even things like speech therapy and physical therapy and all these complex things. What I wanted to do is to just show you just a quick glimpse of what these kind of visits look like. And just as a reminder of the experiences that many of you have had over the last year, connecting with families on Zoom screens, on little phone screens, or even just via text and a phone call. This is a short video of just a moment in an early intervention specialist interaction over Zoom with a mother and a father and an infant. You can't see the father because the father's holding the screen.
So is that typical that she's not initiating the steps on her own? You need to help her without stepping? Yeah. I think part of what's going on is, she's still really working hard to stand up. A baby. I know. Baby.
Sit down.
So all that up and down you do, sit to stand, is going to help build her leg strength. So give another try when you feel ready. Let's talk about it before you do it. So you're going to twist her upper body to the right, but you're really going to have to be thinking about her legs because her tendency is going to be to go back to that wide base of support instead of knees together.
Okay.
If she gets scared, bring her right back down to sit to the side to play because this is really foreign to her and we want it to be a happy place.
Where is your llama, llama, llama? Where is your llama, llama, llama?
Excellent.
Llama, llama.
Excellent.
Llama, llama. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay! But that time she did that transition really nice.
So, as you can imagine, right, the work of early intervention and physical therapists, they rely so much on, it's called physical therapy for a reason, right, that the hands-on and being there. And it was just quite amazing, right, to see these professionals kind of adapt and shift much more of these responsibilities to the parent, but then to be there to support the parents to do that work. What I wanted to show you even more than that, though, is the kind of interactions that happens. And I hope that is just an echo or reflection of the many interactions that you have had with families over the last year. And so before I show the next segment, I wanted to just ask that question. So even through a window, a virtual window like that, what might be the different ways the helping professionals can support the families, not just in this case, not just in the area of physical therapy, but what are the different ways that helpers can offer that support through a window. And so the next segment I wanted to show is on that particular day, on that particular session, the mother and the early interventionist were signing off and saying goodbye.
You guys, I just have to say again, you're doing a super job. I love to watch, the things that were a struggle for her and for all of us, me to try to describe it and you to figure out how to help her with it. Like those things from a week or 2 weeks ago are easy now.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's encouraging because, like we said before, we're kind of home to be able to do the things and we know that we're practicing. So it's like, okay, kind of seeing the fruits of our labor is nice.
Yeah, and you really, you're doing a great job, and I know, she's coming up on, she is a year now, but don't worry, she is going to catch up.
Okay, good. Yeah. Just like, oh
yeah.
my gosh, like, when will she walk? When will she, because it's scary, as a parent, you're just like, okay, you're seeing kids on social media walking and all this stuff, but just bearing in mind that we're doing the best we can with what we have. So, and thanks so much for all your help with all of that.
You're welcome. She's going to keep coming along. So if people start asking questions, when they see she's a year old, oh, when's she going to walk? Why isn't she walking?
Yeah.
That's going to come down the road.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not worried.
Okay. Good.
All right.
That's good. If you're not worried, then we're not worried.
I am not worried.
Okay. That's
all right.
good.
So I'll see you next week at 11, our regular time. Is that good?
Great. Thanks so much.
All righty. Take care.
You say
Say bye, Cord.
Bye-bye.
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 Say bye-bye.
There we go. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Oh, yeah. Bye-bye.
So nice. All right. Have a good week.
So again, I'm going to watch my little sand timer. Let's take a deep breath and just think back. We'll take a minute to think about kind of what are the different ways the helpers support families through these windows. That was a minute. And I was just reading all your comments coming in, and there was so much talks about encouragement and reassurance and normalizing the family's concerns, but showing respect and acknowledging the growth, not just in the child, but in the parent as well. And if we all look through kind of these ideas and adjectives and verbs and actions in the chat, I can just imagine that what you have provided for families over the last difficult year can be described using these same words, same actions as well. And that part of what each of us as professionals, being more than one thing, is that we're always able to find more than one way to offer support to the families and the people that are in our care, and that even when doors are closed to us, that we will find our windows and through these windows, we'll find another way. Early on in the pandemic, I was lamenting about the fact that we're not able to go out there and visit helpers and talk to them and see what they do day in and day out. I happened to pick up this old book that I had on the shelf that I haven't read. It was a book by Helen Keller from the 1950s. In case you're not familiar with Helen Keller, she was a child that, due to illness, lost her sight and her hearing. And so this is this remarkable story of how she and her teacher, Anne Sullivan, together, right, find new ways for her to communicate, for her to learn. And she, of course, become one of the most powerful kind of advocates for people with disabilities, as well as for human beings in general. And the book was called Open Door. And on the very first page is this little quote that when one door of happiness closes, another opens. But often we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one which has been opened for us. And when I think about helping, when one door of helping closes, other windows have been opened. And that part of finding more than one way is to find these windows and keep going and adapt to what the families need. Now, I want to ask a question. This is a question that so many helpers we have worked with have asked of themselves and of each other when we're getting together. And I wonder if you have asked that of yourself as well. And it's this idea that if you have done enough, that as the needs all around us rise, I think so many helpers couldn't help but feeling like they wanted to do everything for everyone, and they wanted to be everywhere at the same time, even when they couldn't do so. And it is, I think, so often the nature of being a helper to feel like we're not doing enough. And that was something that so many helpers echoed over the years, no matter how remarkable their work has become. I wanted to just share a thought that we have shared and have heard from so many helpers and their communities over time. If we think about a child, we think about what does that child need? Right? And we think that, well, the child obviously need family, need to have a relationship, needs to have these interactions with a trusted, stable family. And of course, children don't just rely on families. They turn to helpers as well. These helpers may be home visitors, and in early childhood, it would be the educators and care providers, or early intervention, family support, the pediatrician. I mean, the list goes on in every community, including the crossing guard. And it makes sense that when children look to these grown-ups, that these grown-ups look to each other in partnership. And when I think about home visiting in particular, it's kind of this little triangle, right, of relationship, of this little circle of relationships and partnerships in every direction. But of course, the adults in this picture can't just do this all by themselves as some kind of a superhero. My colleagues here at the school said that we ought to collectively be as invested in the helpers as they are in our children and families. That we can't make a lasting impact on children by skipping over the adults in the middle. And these adults are families, these adults are home visitors and teachers and care providers and so on. And one of the most important ways we can support the helpers is to surround them with their communities of support. So families need their communities of support. That includes home visitors, of course, but that also includes neighbors, that includes their extended families, or even strangers. And of course, at the same time, helpers themselves need to be supported by their community of practice, the way that we're gathering today here virtually, but even in person. We needed to be around people who understand why we do what we do, why we practice what we practice, and what we believe in our practice. And that is not at all that different from the fact that children's healthy development needed to be in a sense of belonging with their peers, that all of us, young and old, need to be surrounded in these communities. And we have seen, before COVID, when we're in person, kind of around the world, how important it is to be able to support each other in communities, no matter what you do. And even during the last year, we have seen so many professionals getting together just through this virtual window, just to have a sense of being with each other. And regardless of where we are, regardless of what we do, I think all of us, our work is pointed towards, or is trying to answer, this fundamental and essential question. How do our practices, our programs, and our policies help to encourage and enrich and empower the human relationships around children, around families, and around the helpers who are supporting them? And few of us have the influence or the decision space to impact all of the practices and programs and policies. But the way we think about kind of how is our work enough, we think about it like ripples, right? When rain first starts to fall on a small pond, each raindrop, however small, starts a circle of ripple, and these ripple will just extend. And no matter where we are, in our communities, in our professional world, what we do and how we interact with the human beings near us sends out a ripple of human relationships, a ripple of hope, even in the most difficult times. And that the ripple from where we are is going to touch other human beings, and it's going to touch other relationships. I wanted to just take one more minute to just ask you a question. That when you look back at the last year, who have been touched by your ripples? Could be a child, could be a family, a friend, a colleague, a community, whoever that might be. I'm just going to watch the time one more time, and I want to see if this would work. I want to just share a short picture of kind of how amazing ripples actually look like as we do this. So here's the timer. If you have a thought that you'd like to share in the chat, please feel to do so. Just select, when you send the chat, select to send it to both panelists and the attendees so that other people can share your thought. But more importantly, I know we have limited time today, but I hope that in the busyness of the reopen and coming back, I hope that within whatever communities that you have an opportunity to talk about and to think about that question. I know it's so easy to feel that we have more to do, we have so much to do, but I think it is so important to just look back and think about the ways that you have touched the people near you within your ripples, because these ripples travel in ways that we couldn't predict, but that what starts with you will end up in many, many different places. So when it comes to the question, am I enough? Have I done enough? I hope all of you who have been serving children and families and communities and each other know that even though none of us can simplistically say that no matter what happens in the world, all you need is one person, we need more than that. But I hope all of you know that you being there as the at least one person in the life of another matters. And for that person, for that child, for that family, having you as the at least one matters. And that each of us, no matter how big, how little we feel that our work is, I want to quote the words of my colleague, Dr. Dana Winters, who said, there's nothing too small. There's nothing too small when we think about the work of using our professional practices, using our programs, and advocating for the kind of policies that would encourage, enrich, and empower the human relationships around children, around families, and around their helpers. And nothing is too small precisely because each one of us is so much more than just one thing. And because of that, each one of us, no matter how difficult it is, have been able to find more than just one way to support the people around us. And once again, I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to join you in your celebration. And I wish you all the best as we recover and rebuild.
Dr. Lee, thank you so much for your powerful, inspirational message. I think this idea of the ripple is amazing, especially now because I've heard over and over again from our network about, this is all we see as the window. Is this all I impact in the family's life? But to take us back to the root of the work, and the fact is that we continue to ripple, our actions in this window have such a larger impact. And what you said was, I think, beautifully stated. I want to take a moment, Kayla. Are there any? I'm seeing a flood of comments coming in through the chat box. I wanted to note if there was any questions for Dr. Lee, and maybe we can read off some of these wonderful comments as well, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. That was very powerful as some of the participants are sharing. I'm just going to go ahead and read some of the comments from the start of your presentation. A lot of individuals wrote, warms my heart, so beautiful. We loved it. I've touched families, client families, coworkers, church members. Ripple effects are large, small, some bounce, some continue, but they all work together and have an impact. Someone said, very true. It all starts with us. I love this. Thank you for your reflection. Thank you, Dr. Lee. This has been very powerful. And as you can see, the comments are just flooding in. So I think I can speak on behalf of all the participants. Thank you so much. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you all.
One person had written, I thought it was great that you totally remind them of Mr. Rogers, which was even better. So that was, I think, a success there as well. But thank you so much again, Dr. Lee, for your presentation. We'll be able to share out this presentation with everyone as well. So I'm grateful for that. I think just the power of your simple slides and those messages are just so relevant in our work right now. And being more than one thing in more than one way, our transition from in-person to virtual and eventually back, and the way that home visitors and support staff are constantly adapting to figure out those windows even when doors closed. I think that's such a powerful message, and it was perfect for today's celebration. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Really appreciate your time. It was wonderful. Thank you. All right, Martha, I'm going to send it back to you. I know we've got one more Mentimeter, and then while that Mentimeter is going, Vanessa, can we do 2 more prizes, please?
Of course.
Okay, let me switch the Mentimeter to the next question. So we had a lovely presentation honoring your work, and we also want to hear how you are planning on honoring the people you work with. So please feel free to use the same code. Should have switched on your browser. You can enter the questions while Vanessa reads off the raffle.
Thank you, Martha. So the first winner of our raffle for this round is Elizabeth Vasquez from St. Mary Medical Center.
Congratulations. Make sure we grab your email address so we can send you an electronic gift card. And then if we can get one more, please. Congrats, Liz.
Yes. And our second raffle winner is Daisy Cruz from Foothill Family.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Daisy. Again, make sure, Liz and Daisy, make sure we grab your email addresses so we can send you your electronic gift cards. Congratulations again.